Yo, JD here, and as you can see, we are back on F1 22, and I'm not going to say always, because recently we have been enjoying iRacing quite a bit, so might not be a regular intro in the future, but we will still always have a love for the F1 games and still be doing many videos on this. But I have got to admit, I have really been enjoying iRacing and just exploring different games because it just does feel very, very refreshing. But back to F1 22, this is actually the final round of the BRS season. We were meant to be doing Jeddah after this, but due to the World Cup and the attendance because of that, this actually turned out to be the final round, and the championship has already decided. Otis Lawrence, aka FRA Elite, has won the championship. I've already secured P2 with a whole host of second places throughout this season because, yeah, I've said it many times before. Probably sounds like a broken record, but
in that as well.
as you can see, or I hear me saying there's a lot of time in that. But FRA Elite, every league he does, I think he's won on this game. I think he's probably in the top 5 fastest drivers on the game overall, including all platforms. And if you've watched any of his other league races, then if you can finish within even 10 seconds of the guy in a race, then that's actually a pretty good achievement. And I think he's one of the fastest drivers, if not the fastest driver I have ever driven against myself. But this is the final lap in the qualifying at USA, and you can see a really good first sector. But as we come through into here, this guy has crashed. His car's not ghosted, and
Fucking hell, man.
you can see the time in the Delta. I think that's cost me quite a bit of time there. I think we could have actually made up even more time, because I like to use the track on the left-hand side. So as this is the last race, I'm just going to really do everything I can. FRA Elite Otis Lawrence is actually starting last, because he's been doing that in other leagues as well. So he's going to try and do a last to first, which he has been successful in quite a few of his other races. And I know this is a very good track for him. So we're going to do our best here and try and win the final race of this season, because we've been winless in this championship. It's been pretty much Elite and maybe Skitzer, the only drivers who have won races, mainly just down to his dominance. So Kota is a track that I've always really struggled in qualifying. It's one of my worst tracks in the qualifying, but in the race itself, it's always been one that I've been very, very consistent at. So coming through into Saas corner, you can see we're almost 2 tenths up, and coming across the line, it's a 32.7.
Fucking hell, man. I thought it's 0.7 after that.
Yeah, so we won't go be close to pole because the qualifying is quite poor around here, but
Yeah, it would have been P3.
I think that definitely would have been P3. Cost me, I'd say, probably at least 2 tenths on the lap. I reckon we could have done maybe a 0.5. So only one position down to where I think we should have been starting.
Yep.
But you'll see here now, this is the formation lap, and you're about to see in a few seconds of why the safety car is turned off in F1 Esports. And yeah, you will see it in just a second here. So we come back to the grid, waiting for the lights to start, and we're going to start on mean tyres because it's actually a sprint race format. So we've got 10 laps and then a 50%. So 3 laps, 4 lights, 5 lights, and as they go out now, the safety car comes out. And
What the fuck?
yeah, it's amazing that this still hasn't been fixed. It's been a glitch for a long time now. So we decided to restart the race, and instead of doing the sprint, we just went straight into the 50% due to time constraints. So we've got 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. We've got to start on the hards now, since we've just gone straight into this 50%. And let's see what we can do. So we actually get a really good start here. Much better start than Mark Sosa and Joe Murphy, but it's a very awkward turn 1 to go into. So just decided to play it safe. Joe Murphy actually gets the run of me around the outside, and we have to slot back into P4. But the setup I'm running here is almost the same as my Zandvoort setup, believe it or not. It's 32 wings, if I'm not mistaken, and yeah, since I was really struggling in the qualifying, I just decided to try and put everything into the race. Although it's going to be very hard to save the ERS I was just hoping that in tyre wear and through the middle and last sector, that's where I should be fairly strong, or the first or third sector, sorry. So we're just going to slot in behind these guys and try not to overuse the ERS. Let's just skip on to lap 5. I say that, but we've actually had to use quite a bit of the battery to keep up because James B and Mark Sosa in P1, P2 were incredibly fast in practice. I think they might have even given FRA Elite a run for his money in terms of the pole position, and James B's actually on the controller as well, believe it or not, so an incredibly fast driver on that input device. But we're staying within the DRS zone as AMS is out of the race. A safety car has now been deployed, but my teammate is leading the race. So what does he do? He pits, so we have to stay out. We could maybe double stack, but right now I probably would have stayed out anyway for the track position. But look at this, you can see about to come up on the screen now, Otis Lawrence. Where is he? He's already in P4 and he started last this race, which, yeah, that's absolutely insane. So we have our work cut out here, but at least we've gone up to P3, and yeah, my teammate I think has pitted for medium, so he's definitely going to have to pit again if there is no safety car. So we decided to continue and getting a pretty poor safety car restart, and now we have Elite behind, who told me that he was running very, very low wings. He really likes to run the low downforce, and now a lot of people will probably say, why don't you just run low downforce as well? But I just can't carry the momentum he does. I think his muscle memory for this game, he has perfected the inputs and muscle memory required for this F1 22 title, and yeah, he can keep carrying that momentum. His trail braking, the throttle input as well, the use of the high gears he does. It's all good to say just use the high gears, but it's not an easy thing to do as well. Otherwise everyone would be doing it quite successfully. So you will see in a straight line he's running the low downforce. That means he can save a lot more ERS as well, and it's going to be pretty difficult to keep him behind. So we're using a bit of the ERS here, which is powerful, but I don't think it's really going to hold him back for too much longer. And you can see we've already used almost 50% of our ERS just on this lap alone, because with the high downforce, the engine has to work so much harder to separate the air, push through the air in a straight line. So you can see we're down to about 50% here, and DRS hasn't been enabled yet. So I'm just trying to stay within the DRS zone as much as I can, and I knew coming off here it was going to be pretty difficult to keep him behind. So I thought, you know what, let's just let him go, save the ERS behind him, and hopefully the tyres will start to come into our favour, so leaving just about enough room. But now we slot him behind, and let's use him. But our teammate's behind, but then the safety car has come out again, which is actually probably perfect timing because my teammate was right behind me. And now we are pretty much going to do the opposite to what Elite does. So whatever he does, I'm going to do the opposite. If he stays out, I'm going to go in. If he goes in, I'm going to stay out, because let's just do something different. The championship's already decided, and I think normally the best way to try and beat him is to just do something different to him as well. So the leader comes in, John Murphy stays out, but he actually stays out, so we decide to then pit. And with the high downforce, that means my tyre wear is going to be quite a lot better than most other drivers. There is a possibility of maybe even getting to the end of the race from here. So we're going to go on the medium tyres, which will be much, much faster at this stage of the race than anyone else. And having a lap fresher tyres around here as well is quite a fairly big advantage. So as we go up behind the safety car is in this lap. We come out in P10. Mark Sosa, ahead of me, is on the same strategy as well. And what we've got to do now is try and get through this field as quick as we can, and maybe even try and catch the leaders if we do have to make another pit stop. So right here now, Mark Sosa is going for it past Orange Juice, which is a pretty cool name to have as a gamer tag. But we didn't use any of the battery here because I have to really choose carefully when I use this ERS, because it runs out so quickly. and it's really, really difficult to recoup with the wings I'm using around this track. So you can see through this, with the fresh and mediums, we are gaining quite a bit of time here, but you will see on the straight in a second that him running the lower downforce, that's Mark Soto, it's actually sponsored. My rival, who was on the same strategy as me, is now out of contention. So we're actually in a really good position here. If we can get through this field quickly, then we might be able to do something special in this last race. You can see we use a bit of the ERS, but in a straight line, even with the slipstream, we're actually losing time. If you look at the delta, that's how ineffective the slipstream is on this game. There really is no effect at all. But going through here, we should be having a much more grip. So keeping a nice tight line. Does he go out wide? Yes, it's left hand. Yes, he does. We're going down the inside here. Does he leave the room? Yes, he does. And now we're up into P8 in this race. Skipping on ahead to my next driver, and it's RL Josh LFC, and he is on old mediums as well, so he hasn't pitted yet. And let's see what we can do here. So DRS is enabled now. Is he going to fight for this? Looks like he isn't at all, so it doesn't look like he's using any of the battery, which will make it a lot easier for me to get past. So I think you heard me say thank you for that. And now we're up into P7, so making actually quite good progress. And the leaders are only just there as well, so if we can catch these guys, then we are going to be in a really good position in this race. So the next two guys up ahead are Ecos and Jisso DV, and you can see we've already dropped Josh by 0.6 of a second, so that's how powerful a set of fresh and mediums are in this race. Coming through into this last quarter, looks like it's going to get a bit feisty between these two, so getting a really good run and exit. So do we use any of the battery? A little bit, but we're not going to use too much because we have to remember to keep as much as we can in reserve. But going into someone, looks like there's going to be a little bit of contact between these two cars, and now we get 2 in 1, so 2 birds, 1 stone going through that turn 1, and now we're up into P5, and then over the next couple of laps, we catch up to typical XF1 in P4. The leaders are just there, so Elite is leading this race, but we are right here as well. So we've got 50% of the battery. Use it again. Does he fight this? Looks like he's not really fighting it too hard, but we want to make sure we get back on the racing line. And the two guys up ahead of me also have time penalties as well, so skipping towards the end of the next lap, Joe Murphy goes out wide, so it looks like his tyres are really starting to go off here. And does he box? Looks like he is, so yes he does. And now we're up into P3. James B, my teammate, has a penalty, and Elite is still on those hard tyres, but the hard tyres are quite durable around this track, and you can actually see he's actually extending the gap. So the pace that this driver has is absolutely insane, and he's dragging my teammate along with him. See, we had about 35% wear on the tyres, so it is possible to get to the end, but it's going to be very difficult. And even if we get to the end, will we be too slow to hang on? So now James B and Otis pit, and we have 8 laps of this race to go. In my mind, I was going to go to the end here. You can see Otis is 10 seconds behind, so he's going to catch me by more than a second lap. He's got a bit of traffic to get through as well, so we're giving it absolutely everything we can here. But as we come through to someone, Goxie's out the race. What happens here? And that is a safety car.
Yes.
Which I was pretty happy about, because I wasn't confident that these tyres would get to the end. And even if they did, I think with the pace of Elite on those much fresher medium tyres, it was going to be really difficult to keep him behind. So we're actually going to pit for softs. We've got a brand new set of softs as well. And by the time the safety car comes in, there'll probably be only 3 or so laps of this race to go. So I felt if I went mediums, then Elite hasn't been on those tyres that long. The pace difference is not going to be enough, and I think it would struggle to get close to him. So I decided to go on the softs to try and use that initial advantage to keep with him, because I know he is very fast in a straight line. So now it's going to be a straight head-to-head for the final 3 laps of this race. to see if I can finally beat this man, because he is just unbeatable on this game. But we get a pretty poor start. We needed to be much closer than that, and yeah, you're just going to see the next few laps now, and yeah, just trying to push him to his absolute limit and not make it easy for him. But those medium tyres are still pretty good, and these softs will be going off quite quickly. But yeah, I don't know if it was a mistake to go on this, but in my mind at the time, I was thinking if I went in the mediums here, then I'm not going to have that initial advantage like I do with this. And if I'm struggling to keep up with him on fresh softs, then I think on fresh mediums it'll be even harder to keep up with him. So I felt like this was my best chance to get as close as I could, because I need to get super close to the DRS zone, which is going to be active, I think, on the last lap, or the second to last lap. I need to be as close as I possibly can. So I'm just trying to use my ERS wisely here, not burn it all out, because I know he has a lot more on board. So going through this section, this is the section where I need to really just try and put him underneath as much pressure as I can. You can see the guys behind me are on the fresh softs as well, and I felt like I was driving really well here. There wasn't really any more I could really squeeze out of these set of tyres here, so we're just trying to get as close as we can. But you'll see with that downforce, he's actually pulling away. He almost pulled away half a tenth just through that corner alone. So whenever there's a straight, it's absolutely insane. So we're just trying to get as close as we possibly can. But if you watch that delta once again on the top of the screen, we're using a bit of the ERS here, but as soon as we stop using it, he just gains that time back again. So going for this first sector, we need to be just try and put underneath as much pressure as you possibly can, as we've already broken out of the DRS zone of the guys behind, or just about. So coming through this section, let's see how much time we actually make up coming through it here. So the softs should still be good at this stage of the race, but it will be over the next lap or so. That's where they will start to be punished. But you can see we haven't even gained that much time in it through here. So if we're using a set of mediums, I think we'd be even further behind, to say. So we're not even within 6 tenths or under 6 tenths here. So just giving it everything, trying to get as close as we can through the braking zone, get into that slipstream if we can use any benefit of that slipstream. Doesn't look like he's using the ERS right now, so we've already used 50% of our ERS just to keep up with him. And going for this section, this is where we need to be as close as we can. Maybe going down the inside of this double left, but the traction he gets, I think that's the most impressive thing about his driving, is the traction. It's like he doesn't get any tyre wear. And before people say he's cheating or something like that, the answer is no. I've already done a video on that. He just has a way of keeping that minimum speed, and the inputs he does are just almost perfection every time. And you can see here, we're just giving it absolutely everything. The guy behind has a penalty as well. You know, the championship's already decided. No, we might as well just absolutely go for it right now, and using a bit of the ERS again. But you can see my tyres are already on about 20% wear after just a few laps, so we're getting a little bit closer. Had a double stab at the steering wheel go through to here, but I think we do have DRS this lap, so this is probably our chance to maybe go for the overtake. So going through it here, just giving it everything, using every single inch of the track itself. I was just praying that I'd be seeing that red light flashing, but I know with the wings he's running, he probably has a lot more ERS on board of me as well. And you can see the exit he gets off there is absolutely insane. So coming through to here, I was thinking to myself, do I just dump all my ERS and go for it here? Because you'll see I actually close up on them quite quickly. So I knew he was saving the battery, but we're not going to be close enough. And if I used all the battery here, it would mean I would have absolutely nothing going into the last lap. And with the crossover between his tyres, the mediums are probably starting to become almost equal on the speed of this tyre, because his mediums aren't even that old himself. So yeah, we're trying to get as close as we can. You can see the gap we've extended to the cars behind, but we just can't get close enough. So getting a bit closer through here. This is a flat out right-hander, so you'll see by the delta again that a little squiggle on the steering wheel, and he's just gaining time. So he almost gained a 10th just from that corner alone. So he's running seriously low downforce, which again, it's not a gimme to be fast. You have to use that momentum, and he is the best driver on this game at using momentum with the low downforce. And coming into this last lap, we have about 20% of the battery, so we're going to give it one stitch of our final effort, but he's just so good for this first sector, even with the wings he's running. You'll see go through here, I think he probably gains a bit of time, so just giving it absolutely everything we can going through this first sector. I'm just throwing the kitchen sink at this, but we're still not making any inbounds really into what he's doing. Off this corner, he gets such a good exit. You can see he's almost gained a 10th just coming off that left-hander. This is our last effort. We've only got 18% of the battery, and you're about to see with the straight line speed he has and the ERS he has. Look at the gap on the Delta.
Tyres too hot.
Yeah, my tyres are going a bit off now as well, but yeah, he had plenty of ERS to defend with, so we're down to 2% of the battery. His red light is not even flashing, so even if we got ahead of him on these soft tyres, I think it would have been almost impossible to keep him behind, and unless he has a catastrophic error coming through this last sector, looks like he is going to win the final race of the season. And yeah, he is just an absolute machine, this driver, and we tried to push him as hard as we can, just one more effort just in case he gets a penalty or something like that. But coming across through the last corner, coming across the line,
GG.
he wins the race, set the fast lap as a result as well.
GG. Yeah, softs, they just go off too quick. GG.
And
yeah, if I went mediums,
yeah, I don't know. I think if I went on the mediums, then
yeah, he's just a
maybe could have had a better chance, but we couldn't even get close enough to him on the softs anyway on the first couple laps. So I think the mediums might have been a maybe even worse choice. But you heard me say it in the stream. You've heard me say it in many of my other videos. The guy is an absolute machine, and I think he's going to have a very, very bright future in the world of esports. I think definitely is the fastest driver I've ever gone against, and I feel like I've been driving pretty well on this game. The results been quite consistent, good pace compared to most other competitors, but he is on a different level. And I think if he continues to improve, especially with his racecraft, I think that's one of the things that will be tested the most when he goes over to PC, races against the esport guys, people who are a lot more on the same pace as him, giving a lot more of a challenge. Then I think that'll be interesting to see. But in terms of the pace, I think he is, even if you compare it with the esport drivers on a probably arguably slower platform, he's faster than quite a lot of them in the practice and even the race pace. So I'm very excited to see that. A really, really special talent, and hopefully next season we can make it a little bit more difficult and closer as well. But thank you so much. I hope you have a great Christmas. This might be the last F1 video of this year because I will be focusing a lot more on iRacing, but I will be doing many more open lobbies over the Christmas period since I will be a lot more free. So if you join your YouTube membership by clicking that join button, you'll get to race with me. You also get a discount on one-to-one coaching with me, which I have opened up new slots for January as well. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll be catching you very, very soon. Peace.